Oh,
Hello, Cooler Talk with Rhonda and Cynthia. So glad to see you here today.
it's great to see you, Rhonda.
Yeah,
Wonderful to see you.
thank you. Uh, the feeling's mutual.
Oh,
And today's topic is where does the time go? Where does the
well, I'll
time
tell you.
go, Cynthia?
I'll tell you. Based on the weather and the recent flurries of snow and cold snaps that we've been having over the past week, I think last week we still had a sunny Thursday and we had a couple of sunny days before that. But just based on the direction of the temperatures, it feels like it's going backwards. I was just saying, it seems like, we're moving away from spring and back into a wintry experience, which not so much. I want us to like move towards March 21. Let's head towards
Yeah,
spring.
that's 19 days from now. So I guess we don't want to focus too much on the time because that takes us out of our present moment.
It
And we
does.
do want to appreciate where we are and what we're doing, don't we?
Yes. Well, that's the truth. That's the truth. Don't think about the time. But since we are talking about where does the time go this morning, it's actually um you actually reminded me of something that I've noticed happens whenever I meet my brother. He will remember all sorts of things from our childhood, all sorts of things, down to the detail. Like,
Wow.
remember when you were in second grade and I was in kindergarten, and, our teacher, whose name was Mrs. Smith, and I'm like, I don't remember her name. I barely remember who I was in class with. I just don't sort of like recall certain things, especially from that long ago, but he will remember details, all sorts of details. And it's funny because when he tells me these stories, and some of them are funny, but it's sort of like he's talking about somebody else. Like, I'm
Yes.
like, are you sure you're talking about me? Like, and he'll be like, yes, of course. You're my sister. Of course I would know that. And I'm like, I don't remember being there. I don't remember slipping and falling. I don't remember my so-called best friend. Like, I I am not remembering any of this, you know?
Jeez. I
It's
know
just funny.
my best friend in grade school, and I'm embarrassed to say I've forgotten her name, but it was so long ago. Her family moved out into the country and it put them into a different school system.
Mhm.
And I still remember her face, but I cannot remember her name for the life of me.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. It's like little blurps here and there. It's funny how some people throughout your life there are predominant moments and memorable moments, and some of those memorable moments aren't really something to be they're just simple little daily things.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's just uh, I don't know where it goes. I just remember little blurps, little moments. Okay, I remember I lived in Cleveland, Ohio. A couple people I remember from living there. And of course, I had some high school friends that lived up there too. Um, and I lived in Ohio City, which was right over the bridge from where I worked in Terminal Tower. I think we were up on the 30th floor. That was cool.
Mhm.
Um, And I remember having too much to drink in the hotel and waking up in the bathroom.
Well, that's the fact that you remember that.
Oh my God. Yeah, way too much to drink that night. Oh, look who's here. It's Cece. Hello, Cynthia. Yes, it
Welcome.
is coffee time. I like those coffee cups. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I'm having hot water. Well, it's interesting because I live close to my mother for the first time in, some 20 years. prior to moving to Switzerland, we lived sort of on different sides of the US. And so I do see her quite frequently, at least once a month, and actually more frequently than that. And I've noticed, though, that because I don't know the reason why, but I've noticed a trend as she's getting older that she's unpacking a lot of old stories as well. She's going through some of the photo albums, and I've noticed I'm not enjoying it as much as I think she would like for me to. I mean, not to say that they were bad memories or, good memories. They just don't seem relevant somehow to me.
Well, they are
And
to
and I
her.
Right? And so she's using it as a mechanism to connect with me, but I kind of wish we connected over the time we're spending together now rather than the time we spent together and didn't actually spend together, when I didn't necessarily have the vocabulary to relate with her, at a,
Yeah. Well, she's kind
you
of,
know,
how
intimate
old is
level.
she again?
Oh gosh, she's getting up there. She was born during the war. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
she's getting up there.
you've got to, remember that she's going through a life review. And I'm
Oh
finding that
yeah.
I've been doing the same thing lately, and I'm not anywhere near her age, I don't think. But I've been doing a lot of reviewing. I don't even
Mhm.
know where some of this stuff is coming from, but it's almost like now I'm looking at things from a different perspective.
Mhm.
So I know it's hard. My parents did it too. It's just because I wasn't ready to hear about this stuff doesn't mean that they're not ready. And for some reason, there she has information she wants to relay to you.
I just don't know what that information would be.
Just listen, listen, ask questions. So, what was going on when that picture was taken? Things like that. You might learn. There's some interesting stories. Um, yeah, I understand. It's hard because it's hard to connect. But I can guarantee you that when you get, I can almost guarantee you, can't speak for you. For myself, I've been going through a lot of reviewing and things that I've learned, things I can walk away from now. Oh, well, that wasn't good. Why wasn't I able to walk away? Well, I didn't know about setting boundaries.
Mm.
And so I can deal with that in the present and recognize
Yeah,
and be able to respond accordingly. So there's a lesson in there somewhere for you. And good luck staying in the present and listening because they can go on and on and on and on. They can.
yeah,
Um, so you'll find a balance. Yeah, since Cece said, funny how we can remember things we did all of our out of our
out of our
character and can't
character.
remember we did otherwise. I know in time. Um, yeah, connection issue here, but I do have some timeline gaps. And I remember things in my childhood, little really they're moments,
Mm.
and some defining moments. Um, but all were good lessons to learn and got me to where I am today. So I'll be grateful for all of that. And being in the present, being comfortable in my own skin, uh, knowing that I do enjoy solitude. It's there's nothing wrong with enjoying solitude and being an
Mhm.
introvert. Um, and it's kind of funny. I saw a little thing the other day, and one of my friends related that, yeah, I really want to be invited to go places and do things and be invited to be part of, but then do I really want to go? It's almost like a contradiction. It is nice when people think of you and remember you, though. But it's even more important, I noticed at this age, to learn how to be in solitude and be comfortable with it.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever struggled with being alone. Um, in fact, I do remember that was one of the things that really it was kind of an anchor for me when I was going through my divorce
Hmm.
was kind of like knowing that there's going to be like like finally my own space, finally my own time. Um Even though yes, there were moments where I missed that feeling of having a partner, I actually still appreciated being on my own more. Um, so it was an easy trade-off for me, but I don't know. I'm really thinking about this point that you raised, Rhonda, about being in the present, and I'm wondering whether the reviewing of your past and really especially reviewing of the parts that were maybe difficult in your past, um, whether there's a real benefit to that. I don't know. I
I
don't know
think
if I've
that
really thought about it that way.
I think it is because my process is I see it, I acknowledge it happened, and then I let it process through me, and then I let it go. And that's really been working for me. So, um, a friend of mine has a different way to present that what I just
Mhm.
said, but I don't hang on to it. It's like, okay, that came up for a reason, so I need to clear that out and let it go.
Mhm.
And it's been pretty amazing, frankly, because I've been so much happier and I feel a little lighter after I do that. It's because it's like, why am I hanging on to that? It's really
For
not
sure.
serving any good purpose
For sure.
um, anymore, except for the lesson that was learned. And then I do that comes to my mind. Okay, what did I get out of that experience? And then acceptance, that acceptance and acknowledgement. And then I actually, in my mind's eye, I just let it process through my heart and then release. So I don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
Those feelings, and
So,
some,
but then
they're
there are
not all
feelings
bad.
that bubble up.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
like they're
okay.
coming out of nowhere.
Right.
So, and then I do the head to heart mind drop, the mind drop from my, thinking, and I just move that thinking and those thoughts into my heart. And when I
Mhm.
move it into my heart center, everything looks different.
Yeah, for sure. I I think I've gone through like a pretty intense wash cycle, or maybe some earlier intense wash cycles. And now I guess like my wash cycles are a lot more gentle. I mean, obviously, I I'm human and I have experiences and they end up in this place called the past. But as far as like memories are concerned, I think like you're saying, there is a bit of a like a memory blip, like, "Oh, I remember that happened, but I'm not really sure, like, to what extent I was really into it." "Oh, but,
Mhm.
we had so much fun and la la la." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I remember we were laughing and that was a good thing." But, like, it's not like I'm reliving things.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and I guess that might be a little bit some of that disconnect between me and mom, because I've noticed that she will sometimes bring things up and then she'll start getting emotional about it,
Hmm.
and she'll be bringing up a lot of regret, and and I find myself saying to her like, "Oh, mom, you know what, I really don't even remember that moment. I don't remember you saying, you wouldn't I mean, obviously, she didn't allow me to pierce my ears when I was a toddler, but I just don't remember that. My ears are still to this day not pierced, and I'm okay with it. So I've gotten over it, but I guess she hasn't. And it's very hard to kind of witness,
Funny.
like,
Yeah.
okay, like I've moved past it. I probably was a pain about
Yeah.
it as a 5-year
Mhm.
old, but I'm over it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, Cece said she's really liking this transmutation process, finding some memories come up that need clearing. And
Mhm.
I think that's what that's all about. It's out with the what doesn't serve a good purpose anymore to living life today, finding joy,
Mhm.
abundance, and just
That's about it. I mean,
living,
not even finding it, just seeing it.
experiencing it. Yeah,
Seeing it. It's
yeah, for
there.
sure. But yeah, time, it's almost like, it almost feels to me like somebody got a pair of scissors out and cut out blips of time and just said, you don't need to remember. It, there's no rhyme nor reason
Yep.
to it, but it's just like cut and paste. It's funny how that and our brains do remember everything. Um, I guess it come yeah, releasing what no longer serves our
Serves us.
higher purpose. Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. Dang.
Yeah. Well, so I
Yeah,
guess in a way, it's a good thing.
yeah, yeah.
And also, I think it helps. What also doesn't serve us is hyper consciousness of time. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, time is a useful way of measuring, measuring things, measuring
Mm-hmm.
growth or measuring um, development, those kinds of things. But it's other than that, it's not really useful. And obviously, to coordinate so that Rhonda and I can appear on this show at the same time instead of, at random times, and maybe we don't manage to synchronize ourselves. But
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, time, it can be a hyper consciousness of time can also have like a debilitating effect on your ability to advance, move further, progress. It's funny actually. I'm working on a project, and I was just telling you, Rhonda, that we're on a deadline. And I'm noticing how people on the team are not used to sort of working in this environment, and they're going through all of the emotions of like, we'll never get this done, and we only have 5 days. And other people who are like, oh, I'll put that off until later. I do better with, and it's just kind of like, you know what? Just do what you can do right now, and then we'll deal with like all of the other things, or maybe we'll even be able to better decide what needs to go in this document and what doesn't need to go in this
Mm-hmm.
document.
Yeah, yeah. I remember
Yeah.
my dad telling me, I'm sure I was a teenager, and I remember him saying something to the effect of, "Rhonda, don't be trying to rush through time so fast because it's going to pass you uh, a lot quicker than you think it is." And that was then. Now all of a sudden, I'm like, God, I'm almost 70 years old. What? Where to go? Of
Mhm.
course, he had that perspective because he was 30 years older than me. So,
Yep. Yep. I'm
uh,
I'm approaching a decade. I mean, I still have another couple years to go, but then whenever you start passing that number 5 of your decade, you're kind of like, "Holy moly, like, wait, I just started this decade."
and I like what
Um,
Cynthia just said. She often thinks of herself like an old computer going through a fragmenting process. Yes, we're
defragging,
defragmenting. I love that analogy. I love it.
defragging. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I love it. That's a
And,
great
actually,
analogy.
that's how our brains work,
Yeah, and
you
that's what
know?
your mom's doing.
Yeah, we've got like that short-term processor and then the long-term processor. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if, she kind of like dumped some of that long-term processing somewhere else. Congrats, Cynthia. 70. Yeah, that's a good. Actually, seven's a very lucky number.
Yes, that's my number. 7 is.
That's my month.
I
So
saw
it's one of my
1111
favorite numbers
again
too.
yesterday. That one
Uh-huh.
pops up. That pops up for me a lot. And I
That's
don't want to
good.
attribute too much to all these numbers, but you can't help but notice when you see a certain sequence popping up on a regular basis.
For
And it
sure. Well,
usually
there was
it usually
uh-huh.
pops up sometime somewhere around the time when I'm thinking too much and processing things too much. Because I do have a tendency to overthink things. And
Mm.
yeah, I have to shut that off every once in a while. Time wasted.
It's a symbol, I think, of alignment. Um, I think that's what I had heard somewhere. The 1111 sequence. So, sounds about right. Month 7. Oh my goodness. Name twin. You and I have so much in common. It's month twin, name twin. This is
How
getting
about
kind of
that?
doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Cool. There was
Have you
something I
ever
wanted to
watched some
say.
of these old movies and it's like, how did they know that stuff? Like the Jetsons. That was
Oh
like
yeah.
one of my favorite shows back when I was a kid because I'm like, God, life would be so much more convenient with all of these things. And now we can, talk to each other on screen. So many things have come to fruition. It's like, did they know something back then and just were trying to tell us without telling us? But if you look at some of those older things and some of the old Star Trek movies,
Mhm.
um, it's very interesting to see that some of that stuff was almost futuristic because now a lot of it's come to reality.
Well,
The
this is a very
communicators, like
interesting.
cell phones, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's very interesting that you should bring this topic up on our Where Does the Time Go topic of the day because you're almost suggesting that there might be a possibility that time isn't linear.
Wow, there's a
So if
great.
it's stacked and we're living all the past, future, and present in one big massive stack of nows, it's
Uh,
possible that like the thinking of the Jetsons creator might have just kind of poked into a future stack that was actually the present in his mind at that time,
well, think
and
about
hence,
Tesla and some of the stuff he created.
for sure, for
And
sure.
his things that he created were suppressed
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
because they were good for humanity.
Well, and then, Da Vinci actually drew an early helicopter.
Wow, I didn't know
I
that.
mean, some 300 years ago, he was kind of imagining this thing with kind of this roundabout propeller. The fan hadn't even been invented yet. Like, and like Da Vinci, sometimes when I hear about the things that Da Vinci thought up and sketched in his notebook, it's just like, God, that guy was in a stacked time.
And that quantum physics. I've been reading more about quantum physics. It's like, wow, don't want to think too much about it. And if I keep it simple in my thinking, I'm like, I understand this. Oh yeah, Cynthia, I enjoy talking to the younger ones about all the technological changes our generation has experienced. It's unbelievable. It's almost
Hmm.
mind-boggling.
It
You
is.
look at the telephone for one, and how that's evolved,
Hmm.
and think about the cell phones. Used to be a big contraption you'd put in your car, and it still
Car
had a cord
phones.
to it. And now it's this little miniature computer.
Yep, that's your television too.
And I used to when I was a kid, I used to fantasize about telephones, about not having to be corded to the wall. And I used to fantasize about computers. And I'm like, wow, I was seeing things that actually came to be. But my thinking was more in wouldn't it make life easier if, and that was usually where my thinking was. And I bet a lot of other people thought that way too. Oh yeah, and the
Rhonda?
microwave.
Yeah, the microwave. I just want to point out this thing, which is a trick to manifesting things,
Oh,
which you just mentioned. So thank you for the inspiration.
you're welcome.
But if you want something really bad, you kind of have to sometimes temper the how bad you want it feeling, because that's kind of what's stopping you from getting it, and
Hmm.
turn it into more of a fantasy. Like, wouldn't it be nice if our dishwashers could put the clean dishes away in the cupboards on their own?
Well, we
Wouldn't
have.
that be nice?
Yes, it would be nice to have a robot, probably a robot to do that. But oh,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, you could really that could be done. I can see
So
that.
you soften like the intensity of
Yeah.
your desire so
Yes.
that you can kind of create more space for that to happen. Like you can kind of remove yourself from
Yeah.
trying to figure out how it's going to work and just kind of put it out there. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. That must.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes. Yes. Wouldn't it be nice? And I've seen those thoughts have come to fruition out there in the world. That's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
Very
many
cool.
inventions. Well, there was this one time I love to tell this story because it was the first time that I realized I was no longer considered one of the younger crowds. So I was in my late 30s, um, and I realized that college kids saw me as an old person. And
Yeah,
um,
you're only 30 years old.
at that time, I was in my mid-30s, and I thought I was, like, all cool and hip along with them, and they had no idea, and boy, was I wrong because one of them asked me, "How did you used to make mixtapes?" And that's when, like, it dawned on me at all of those levels. I was like, "She doesn't know what a cassette tape is. She
Oh my
doesn't know what a
gosh.
digital cassette player is. She wouldn't know what to do with a cassette and a pencil. Like, she has 0 points of reference
Yeah.
with cassettes."
Oh my gosh,
So,
that was so time consuming.
so, like, she asked me how her mixtapes made it, and I realized there was so much vocabulary that I would have to define for her before I could even get started with, you know, put the cassette in your dual cassette player and hit record. Like, so that was a where did the time go moment for me. When did this
Um,
happen?
oh, Cynthia just mentioned about often thinking of a remote finding device. Well, actually, we have that now already. They're
Yes.
little gizmos that you can attach to things.
Yes.
And
But as
I have
long as
that
you
with
don't
my
lose your
phone.
phone.
Yeah, I have a speaker in my living room. And if I can't find my phone, I just say, "Hey, Google, where's my phone?" And it'll start ringing the phone.
Oh, cool.
So there are
Yeah.
several devices, homing devices that you can attach to things. Of course, Bluetooth helps with it. Um, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
Well, those things
every
are already out there. I forget the name of them, but because
they're
I work in,
RFIDs, I think.
um,
But any excuse not to not do your homework is
you're funny.
it's like, no, you don't have any excuse. You can't say the
Yeah,
dog ate it because
yeah,
it's probably your phone
yeah.
or
There,
your
there's a
laptop.
there is a name for those little devices. You can attach them to your keys anything.
Yep.
So if you can locate it, if you can't find it, yeah, that stuff's
Yeah,
out
I
there
think
already, Cynthia. Yeah,
they're called RFIDs,
is that what they're called?
or at least that's what they're called here in Europe. So
Oh,
they
okay.
they tend to like they tend
Tile.
to have them with they sell them with laptop bags, things like that.
Mm. The name brand here is Tile,
Oh,
Tile, and they're
well, there you go.
probably only about maybe an inch and inch, inch and a half,
Yeah,
and
they're
you can
about the size
attach
of a
it to
quarter.
them.
Hmm.
Yeah, just a maybe more like a $half
Yeah.
coin. Well, not that big. Anyway, yeah, Tile. I think the brand is Tile. You can go into Best Buy and find them, but I'm sure there's some other technology out there now, like the Bluetooth.
Hmm.
Well, like that, I misplace my phone all the time, and I'm like, I'm just not going to walk around looking for that anymore. Hey Google, where's my phone? Find my phone.
The
It
next
says,
thing will be, what will I lose in the future that I could already attach this tile to now?
yeah.
I'm just
Oh my
I'm just
God.
playing. There's
We,
all sorts of cool things happening.
I know. Lots of
Yeah.
things. Yes, Cynthia, all is not lost. You
No.
have the technology right now available to help you find things you misplaced. If you want to attach it to your coffee cup, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't seek, you shall find.
that's right. That is right. Uh, yeah. Um, Probably didn't even know how to use it.
Nope.
Jeez, those rotary dial phones, I hated those things.
They were awful.
And my grandmother, now I'm really going to go back in time. She lived in a very tiny little village. I don't think the population was more than 300. I mean, if you wanted, everybody had to go to the post office to get their mail. Okay, so which was for about 2 block walk. That was it. But she was on a party line, and grandma always said, now be careful what you say when you're on the phone because so and so might be listening in. And, in a little town like that, a lot of gossip, you know.
With the old switchboards and everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can imagine the granddaughter's face. This is like, all this technology has really advanced in our lifetime.
Mhm.
And it's mind blowing, and it's like ancient technology to the young people today.
Mhm.
Never thought I'd be talking like this, but hey, we have to advance. Find easier, softer ways to do things and to help each other. So Tesla originally had magnetics is something he really developed where you could power vehicles, and
Mhm.
his designs were all intended to be free for people's use. And I guess it was one of the Rockefellers. I'm not, well, it's another story, but these elites, they're like, man, we don't want people to have that stuff for free when I can get money out of it.
Well, we can capitalize on that.
Greed. Yeah. Anyway,
That's a whole other conversation
that is
about
another
intellectual
conversation.
property and
Oh,
who knows what else.
gosh. Okay. Well, there you go.
'Tis past the hour. I
It is
hope you all
past
have a wonderful Thursday.
you as well. And
The time
stay
has
up.
already gone on Thursday here in Switzerland.
Yes, what is it, about 4 in the afternoon there?
It is, yes, it is. It's 4:05. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's been a
Yes.
good Thursday, just a little gray.
Yeah. Well, 'tis the season.
'Tis the
You
season
all have a
still.
wonderful day, a wonderful week.
We will
Enjoy.
see you here
Find
next
that
week.
joy wherever you can. And
A las
remember, laughter comes with that. Laughter is always a good thing,
9:30.
as long as it's
Yes, it
not
is.
at the expense of someone else.
Well, laughter is a very present activity. You can't really do it in the future, nor can you do it in the past.
That is correct. So pay attention. Don't pay attention to time. Just stay in the moment, be in the present, and enjoy. Take it easy, everybody.
Ciao for now.